Hi everybody, welcome to the Global Mental Health Peer Network's second episode of our YouTube talk show series. So today we will be talking about non-communicable diseases and the impact it has on mental health and vice versa. With me today I'll have my co-host Charlene Sunkel, CEO and founder of the Global Mental Health Peer Network. And we would love for you to follow the rest of our series. So if you can like our video below and subscribe, we'd highly appreciate that. We also have a video on the work of the Global Mental Health Peer Network, which you can find on our website as well as our YouTube channel. A quick overview on our topic. We are aware and we know that non-communicable diseases and mental health conditions are linked. And we know that mental health conditions even affect other diseases such as cancer, or illnesses rather, such as cancer and diabetes, respiratory diseases. And for today, the topic is really going to be covered in more depth by our co-host. So moving on to Charlene Sunkel. Charlene, if you could please tell us how and why mental health fits into NCDs and what is being done to improve the quality of lives of those people that are being affected by it.
Yes, NCDs are conditions that's not kind of transferable or transmissible from one person to another person. And these conditions kind of cover various physical health conditions like diabetes, cancers, some heart diseases, kidney diseases, and of course quite recently mental health has been included as part of the NCDs. Now NCDs can be either acute or it can be chronic, so it means it can be a lifelong condition. What's quite interesting is that 70% of all deaths are actually related to NCDs. Then we also see a lot of comorbidity in terms of people who have both physical conditions, but they also have another condition like a mental health condition. Some people have multiple conditions like diabetes, epilepsy, and depression, and later on we'll speak a bit to Zak, who will tell you more about his experiences with multiple conditions. In terms of mental health, mental disorder specifically is known to cause a lot of disability, much more than your physical conditions. And it's also one of the factors that relate a lot to unemployment. And that of course stigma's got a lot to do with that. And people actually with mental health conditions tend to are much less likely to receive treatment, and that again is due to stigma.
Thank you, Charlene, that was really insightful. So I think for the audience and for people in general, just to understand, what can we do to achieve a healthier lifestyle and a balanced lifestyle when it comes to NCD and mental health?
Well, there's quite a lot that you can do. I think a lot of NCDs are linked to unhealthy lifestyle, for example, smoking, kind of excessive use of alcohol, inactivity. So a lot of those things. So if you really focus your life around making sure that you live a healthy lifestyle, eating healthy, avoid smoking and drinking excessively, exercise, whatever. You don't need to go run. There's exercises that you can do at home. Practice other forms of relaxation like yoga. Claudia actually does a lot of yoga, so she can really tell you all about that. And not only does it help you with your physical health, but all these also help you with your mental health. And also by a balanced lifestyle, what I'm saying is you need to have different things in your life. You don't need to just work. You need to work certain hours and play certain hours. And by play I mean you do things, practice hobbies, do what you like to do, exercise, visit friends, connect with your families. That is a lifestyle that is balanced.
Yeah, and I think also, I mean, to your point about socializing and still doing things with others, we know that the coronavirus and the pandemic that we're going through has restricted that quite a bit. But again, I think really what you said makes a lot of sense. Implementing other forms of sort of tools and techniques for self-care, and also medication, sticking to your treatment, sticking to your medication is key to achieving a healthy and balanced lifestyle.
Yes, and also support. Support is also very important. Supporting a loved one who has NCDs, helping them, that also boosts them. And I think in terms of mental health, if you also look at the unemployment that I spoke about earlier, is employment for people give them purpose in life. And if you have purpose in life, that also boosts your well-being.
Sure, absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for that. And I think what we can do now is move on to Zak Martah, who's a person with lived experience. And he will share a little bit more about his ups and downs and what he was diagnosed with. So we now have our guest on board. We all call him Zak. So over to you, Zak. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, what you love to do, and what type of NCD, non-communicable diseases, do you live with?
Sure. My name is Zak. I live in Johannesburg, South Africa. I am a project assistant at the Global Mental Health Peer Network. What I love to do is many things. I love cooking, I like gaming, I like watching TV, I like sleeping. That's the main focus. But what I live with diabetes and epilepsy.
Thank you. So will you be able to tell us a little bit about your journey, a little bit about what has happened, and what was the most difficult thing you had to endure or overcome with regards to your epilepsy?
Sure. In 2011, I landed in hospital with a brain abscess. From there, I had aphasia, which I had to learn how to talk, read, write, basically everything again. Which was difficult, because I couldn't understand most everything anyone said. But from there, my mom taught me many things, and from there, it really helped me to gain the knowledge back. So from there, actually, I developed epilepsy from it, and diabetes, which is genetic, because my brother also has it, and my grandmother, and side of my dad's family as well.
Okay. So it's been also very tough, right?
Of course, yes. So epilepsy is basically a trial and error thing. So sometimes medications don't always agree with me, which is very difficult because most tablets don't agree with me. But the medications that I'm on now, I'm pretty stable right now, which is really good. But the problem with epilepsy is that sometimes I have problems driving, basically, because I'm scared of having a seizure on the road and endangering other people on the road, which is a nightmare for me. And on the diabetes side, that was actually quite easy for me, because my brother, he was 15 months old when he developed diabetes, and since then my mom has always had control over my brother's diabetes, and everything we ate together, and from there we always knew how to control these things. So when I became diabetic, it was so much easier because I knew everything, what to do, how to test, how to inject, how to look after myself and that. But there are sometimes some days that it is difficult because you feel like you're alone in this world, and you get those thoughts. It's like really like I'm so much better off dead than actually being alive. But what actually helped me is that my friends who also have diabetes has helped me so much, not only on the diabetes side, but just of being friends with them, because they are so positive, they are so energetic, they are so lively basically, and I learn from them everything from them.
Yeah.
And I love them so much, and shout out to Bob. But so there are some very difficult days, but you will know that one day you will have control of your diabetes, and you'll be strong enough to actually control it and live with it forever.
And I think that's fair as well, because that links with mental health very nicely, because with mental health conditions, one day you feel great, the next day you don't, and you're also kind of on a, like you said, a routine of medication, or you've got support from your family. But, and at the end of the day, that's also what you feel when you have epilepsy or diabetes. So the two really do link. And that's why it's so important that we do a video like this, so that we understand the linkage between the two. So now, Zak, from a more positive note, what is it that you do to stay positive? We know you have a nice social group of friends, but what do you do to stay positive and live a productive life?
See, the positive things is a little bit more difficult, because negatives is very easy, because sometimes you feel like you can't always relate to anyone, because they can eat whatever they want, but I have to always test, inject, and if my sugar's high, I have to wait. Meanwhile, others just eat all the food basically, which is difficult. So the positives, could do family, could do gaming, could do friends.
Yeah, and you know what, maybe can you touch on gaming a little bit for me?
Sure.
So, and the reason I think it's just important to quickly include it is I think gaming is something that's really becoming a huge thing worldwide, from the youth even through to the much older people. Playing games and interacting, that's a form of a social connection with somebody over the internet, and you play games with other people, you form a team. Does that give you a sense of belonging? Does that distract you from the difficult days? Yeah, so just maybe just something really short and sweet about how gaming helps you.
It does everything actually. I've played many games over the years. I started when I was so young, I can't even remember, but I've always enjoyed it. I've even brought my brother into it, and I've always enjoyed everything about it. Sometimes it is a good escape from reality itself,
Yeah.
but there are some days that actually helps you. It makes you a stronger person, because sometimes I play with my teammates and that, and they say, "Oh, Zak, you are so good," and that, and on a game, it's easy to say, but it is something so positive. It can actually elevate me.
Elevate
Yes,
the spirits.
exactly. And there are actually so many games about mental health. There's a game actually called Fractured Minds, which is about depression, anxiety. And after I played it, it was so real that actually after I played it, it was like, that's actually what I'm going through.
Wow.
And not all games do it, but there are some really amazing games that are not only about violence and that, but also a storytelling from a point that you don't always see. And it's always nice to see everything of a view of a,
Like a global view?
basically, of it. So I've always enjoyed it, and I don't think I ever will. But it's a really good way of enjoying myself, playing games, and not only myself, but other people around the world. You know, when they're having a bad day, they talk about it, and we try to help each other in those times. And especially now with the lockdown, all the things, like, they can't do anything they want. So it's a great way of escape, and they can actually have a good time without being the cruel reality of how sometimes life is.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. That's so great. It's really nice to hear that that's what helps you. And so for our viewers, we will be having Zak's mother on as well to give us a little bit of a perspective from her side, from a carer's side. But before we go to her, last thing for you, Zak, what message would you give to others who are watching this, or others that are suffering from some form of NCD or even a mental health condition? What is your message to others?
Look, it's easy to say, don't give up. But you will always have those days like, I just want to give up. But just remember, you might think that, oh, I'm better off dead. But don't you think about other people around you, your family, your friends. They care about you. And when you dead, who's going to be there? Who's actually going to suffer? It's going to be them suffering, saying, oh, it's my fault for not helping that person. So yeah, don't give up. But just, if you're having trouble, if you're having difficult times and that, just remember, you can always reach out. You can talk to your family, your friends, and that can help. Even just saying, wow, Zak, you're amazing. You know, that can help someone else. So it's easy to say don't give up, but just be yourself and live the best you can do.
Great. Thank you so much. What a lovely message.
Thank you.
And I hope everybody takes that to heart and keeps that in mind. Don't give up. So next we will have Laila Martah, and she will be, as I said, discussing the perspective from a carer's point of view. Thank you, Laila, for joining us today to speak about your expertise from a caregiver's perspective. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what is your role as a caregiver?
My name is Laila Martah. I am mom of Zak, that you met previously. I live in Johannesburg, South Africa, and my role as caregiver is quite big. It's my whole life, basically. I have Zak, who has epilepsy and type 1 diabetes. I have my other son, who's now 16, also has type 1 diabetes as well. My mom lives with me. My mom has type 1 diabetes. She has dementia, along with hypertension, and all those things that come with old age. And then my husband was the latest diagnosis last year, May, and he has type 1 diabetes as well. So although it's not that I have to, it's not that I've been told I have to look after them, and I don't like saying I look after them, but I am the caregiver in a way. And they take responsibility for themselves, but because of the different conditions that they do sometimes need some assistance, and that is what I'm there for.
Sure, thank you. So, from what we can understand, it's quite a heavy task to look after not just one person, but a couple of people, and it takes a toll on you as a caregiver as well. How do you keep yourself positive, and how do you sort of navigate through and keep your spirits up?
I think it's a slight amount of determination. I wake up in the mornings and I say to myself, you know what, that there's no going back with this, unfortunately. I've raised my boys with the attitude, and some would call me insensitive at times, that it is what it is, you've got what you've got, you make the most of what it is, and it is what it is, and you know what, sometimes you just got to suck it up and deal with it. And I think that's a big part of my strength, I'll be honest, and determination comes from that it is what it is, and I can't do anything to change it, so I make the most of it. I try to get a good night's sleep, which sometimes isn't always possible, because I do, especially with the diabetes, diabetes is a condition that sometimes people don't always understand, that what you do today will work, and what you do tomorrow, you do exactly the same thing, and it completely doesn't work at all. Because it's not just about the food you eat and how much you inject the activity, it's about the heat, it's about the stress, it's about anxiety. So during the days and the evenings when I know that my family need an extra test or two, I'll put my alarm and I'll wake up and I'll check them. But I do try. I try to get a good night's sleep, and I've got a good support system. My family, although I'm their caregiver, we work together, and that's quite important. They know how to look after each other, they know how to assist each other, and they know how to step in when I need them to help me to help them. Such. So it's about, I've tried to educate them as best as I can in their conditions, and that meant that I had to educate myself. So for instance, when my youngest son was diagnosed at the age of 15 months, I immersed myself in diabetes. I learned everything that I could. When Zak developed the epilepsy, I learned everything that I could learn. My mom with the dementia, I've done the same thing. I've set out and I've tried to learn everything that I could. I've tried to look for support. I've gone online, and in turn, I have tried to educate them. So although, as I say, I'm there and I help them, they help each other and they help themselves a lot. And that made a big difference. Also for myself is that besides the attitude, it is what it is, I find humor, and sometimes it is maybe a dark humor. Sometimes I think my sons would agree with that. But I try to keep humor involved in everything. And there are days when I do feel like crying and I feel like walking out the door, but we find the humor in it and we laugh about it. And I think that's been a great help in the way that there are times when I want to lock myself up in the bathroom and go cry, and I'll turn to someone in my family and crack a joke and find humor, and that actually just it breaks the ice and it just gives you that to continue.
Yeah. Thank you, and I think that's really insightful. A lot of us don't understand that people that are living with a diagnosis, and in this case NCD or mental health, we forget that the people that are caregivers and that are doing family responsibilities, that they too need to be understood and catered for in the term of lived experience, because you're a part of the journey as well, and you're looking after somebody, but who's looking after you? So it's really nice to hear that you were also trying to do your own things and not taking everything on by yourself. So that's a really, really inspiring story, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are happy to hear what you've just said and probably have experienced similar things. So I think then just to end it off with us, what message would you give other caregivers so that they don't lose hope when it gets to a really difficult point?
With the groups that I'm on and the support groups that I'm on, they always talk about that. They always say to you as a caregiver, never forget to look after yourself. But that's easier said than done.
Sure.
They give you the practical advice of take a shower, take a nice long bath. Those are all the practical things. But I think you've got to have the mentality that, and I think this is what's maybe helped me in that those things, yes, you can do. But it's not about taking a bath or taking a shower or reading a book. You've got to find an outlet for something to enjoy. So for instance, I enjoy cleaning. I know it sounds pathetic, but
sure.
I go and I'll wash the curtains when I get to the point where I've had enough. I'll immerse myself in that. So it's actually just finding something you can immerse yourself in, and you just forget about everything. So if it is cleaning curtains or scrubbing the floor, that is yours. It doesn't have to be what people say it should be.
Yeah.
And also I find that I have to sometimes disconnect myself, and that is how I think I get the biggest self-support. That sometimes I have to look at my family and I have to say that this is their condition.
Yeah.
I'm assistance for them. I'm there to help them, and I'm there especially when they need help and they can't help themselves. Like, when their sugars go high or low, or when they have a seizure, or when dementia takes you out of that reality.
Yeah.
That's not my condition; it's theirs. So I remind myself of that sometimes, that it's their life and it's their condition, and I can help them as much as I can, but I can't take it on for them.
Yeah.
And what I've seen, especially caregivers, parents of children with conditions, tend to take on the condition as well, and it makes them so exhausted that they can't actually practically care for the child. You have to sometimes draw the line and say, I'm doing what I can, but this is actually my child's condition or my loved one's condition. I can try and empower them and help them, but I can't live their condition for them. And that, I think, has been my saving grace.
Great. Thank you. That's some solid advice, I think, because we tend, as human beings, we tend to kind of take on things to try and fix them or solve them, but we also need to look after ourselves, right? There's that saying where you can only help someone if your cup is full, right? So thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and us from the Global Mental Health Care Network for everything you do, for your family, and also for speaking up and sharing your story with us. Thank you, Laila.